Hey everybody, welcome back. My name is Abby. I'm with Fitness is Medicine, and today I'm going to show you a workout that you can do at home if you only have a band. So we're going to use body weight and a band, and that's it. So I've got my band set up over here about hip height. We're going to do a banded vertical pull for those lats and those arms. I'm going to have you do one arm at a time to really focus and engage. When you think about your shoulder blades sitting on your back, they're like this, and I want you to think about them coming one at a time, squeezing down and back like this as you pull your shoulders. So we'll grab that band. You want it about hip height. And I want you to be in a little bit of a squat so you can flatten that back, and you're going to pull straight down like this. So if I was sitting and pulling down like at a lat pull machine, this gives that same effect. So good flat back, abs engaged to protect that back, and we're going to pull one arm at a time and really focus on that shoulder blade and thinking about letting it rotate down and back each time you pull. Now, importantly, keep your shoulders here away from your ears. Don't let your shoulders go up like this and pull. Keep them down. By doing one at a time, you have to engage that core a little bit more. Think about driving your elbows towards the back of the room. You can also keep your arms like this and pull, but drive those elbows towards the back of the room. Try to keep your hips nice and level, and keep breathing the whole time. Squeeze that shoulder blade down and back as you pull. Okay, good. Now we're going to do a side lunge. Now if you have any hip or knee pain that prevents you from doing a lunge, just do a weight shift. Now when you do a lunge, I'm going to have you step way out to the side. And then you can decide the range of motion that you are comfortable with. If you have good range of motion and you want a good workout, sit nice and deep. The key is to sit your hips back to protect that knee. You want your knee to stay over your ankle. You don't want it to be going forward over your toes. The other thing is, make sure it's going out to the side and not caving into the middle. So, we're going to do all one side. We're going to do 10 to start. And I want you to grab that band pretty close here, elbows in your sides, and we're just going to hold a static external rotation here. This is a really good rotator cuff static exercise while we're doing that. So sit way back in that lunge, holding that static shoulder external rotation, making your postural muscles work as you're working your lower extremity. Really sit those hips back. If you have knee pain and this doesn't work for you, do some side weight shifts. That's a good balance exercise, doing those weight shifts. And just that lateral movement that we're getting by doing the side to side is good to combat all of that forward motion stuff that we normally do. And this is the last one. Give your arms a break. And now we're going to step to the other side. Big step back. And really sit those hips back. Try to keep your chest high as you sit back. You're naturally going to have to lean over a little bit, but you don't want to be down here. You want to keep your eyes up, facing the opposite side of the room, holding that shoulders, external rotation the whole time. It's not a movement. You're just holding it in that position. If you find you're losing your balance with this, forget about this. And do it next to something where you can gain your balance. Really sit back in that. This leg is staying straight. It's not a squat, it's a lunge. 2 more. We're gonna hold that for that last one. Okay, good. Now we're gonna take this and we're gonna do a simple push-pull. So I'm gonna come a little closer, but I just want you to stand in a good athletic stance like this. Hold this pretty close. It depends on the strength of your band. Sometimes people get really strong ones for certain things for physical therapy, and sometimes you get a lighter one if you're doing shoulder or wrist exercises. So you have to kind of judge what you have. But I want you to hold it right here at your chest, and I want you to push out. So when I push out, I'm going to come in here a little bit. I'm going to push, I'm using my pectoral muscles here, the fronts of my shoulder and my triceps. Nice and slow, and you'll notice my shoulder is staying put. So when I push out, I'm not going to reach forward like that. I just want to keep it neutral, push, nice and slowly. This is an easy one to do with your band. You can do it when you're sitting at your desk. You can do it just for a little bit of motion, movement, work those shoulder muscles. All right, now we're going to switch and do the other side. Push. And now you're not pushing all the way forward out here. Your whole torso is staying stable. I'm not really in a squat. I'm just in a good athletic stance where my core is tight, my legs are supporting me, and I'm standing with my feet a little wider than hip distance apart. They're just in a good athletic stance. I don't want to stand like this. Just a good athletic stance. So after I've done 10 of these, now I'm going to put my hands out forward and I'm going to pull back. So we're going to engage those postural muscles again. And this way we're pulling. Remember that shoulder blade? We're going to pull it back, thinking about squeezing that shoulder blade like there's going to be a pencil. We're going to squeeze between those shoulder blades. Only the one side is contracting here, but you're working the posterior part of your deltoid, your muscles in your shoulders, keeping that shoulder down. You don't want to be up here. Keep that shoulder down, drive that elbow towards the back of the room, and squeeze the back of your shoulder there. All right, now we'll switch, holding this one out straight. Driving your elbow towards the back of the room. You can keep your shoulder, you can keep your elbow level like this and pull back as long as you're keeping this shoulder down, or you can keep it close to your side if you have any shoulder or elbow pain that's limiting this range of motion. Squeeze back, keeping those abs engaged. All right, good. Now hang on to that band. We're going to do a little bit more side motion. So I'm going to have you step on that band. Bring it up here. We're going to do not really a squat, but a good athletic stance again, holding that band right here, chest level. And we're going to step sideways like this. So the key here is to keep your toes pointing straight forward. I don't want my toes going out to the side like this. I want those toes straight forward and almost turned in just a little bit. We're really focusing on those glutes with this one. Now you can make this tighter or looser depending on how you're feeling. You can step on it a little bit closer to make it tighter, or give it a little more slack if you're feeling really tired. So I want you to just go back and forth, do about 10 in each direction, and this really gets those glutes. So remember, I'm in a good athletic stance right here. I'm not in a squat, but my knees are bent, my hips are back just a little bit, my abs are engaged, so that as I go, these glutes are really engaging and working. As I keep those toes turned in, don't let your quads and hip flexors take over. Okay, good. Now, we're going to lie down on the floor, and I'm going to show you an abdominal exercise that you can do. So, just lying flat on the floor like this, hands beside your hips. You can cross your feet over like this if that feels good, or you can keep them separate. And I want you to pull your knees towards your chest and think about lifting your hips up off the ground. So it might work better to just cross your knees, cross your feet, and lift your hips up off the ground. So you're going to bring your knees towards your shoulders, and just, it's not a very big motion. It should feel good on your back. So I like this one. It's not a very big motion, but your abs are engaging to lift your hips up off the floor and protecting your back because it's staying nice and flat against that floor, and it's protecting your neck. Your neck should not be engaged here at all. Keeping everything else nice and flat on the floor. You can keep your hands beside your hips. You can cross feet, or you can keep your feet uncrossed. It all depends on kind of how comfortable it is. Your legs shouldn't be really doing anything here. Your abs are really just pulling those hips up off the floor. Okay, great. Now the last one. We're going to do a balance exercise with that band again. I'm going to have you go into an airplane hold, which we've done in the past. But I'm going to have you take this band, go into that airplane hold. So you're going to stand on one foot, reach that back foot back. We're going to kind of keep it all in line with your torso here so that you go forward, your arms go up here, and then I'm going to have you pull that band apart just a little bit, kind of little pulses. So your arms reach forward, your leg reaches back. I've got a straight line from my heel to the tips of my hands, and I'm going to pull that band just a little bit. They're pulses. We're just pulsing that band as I hold that airplane hold. So the key here, too, is not to let your shoulders come up. Keep those shoulders down, holding that, doing little pulses as we're holding that airplane hold. Okay, good. Now let's switch. Good posture, keeping your head in line with your spine, arms reaching out, heels reaching back towards the back of the room. Little pulses with those arms. Keeping those shoulders down away from your ears. And keep breathing. We're working for about 30 seconds here. If you have shoulder pain, just do this. You can even just hold your arms out here, or if that hurts, just do the airplane hold right here. You can do this in any range of motion along the way. So if you're here and this is challenging your balance, leave it here. But if you can, try to go to that flat back and leg reaching straight out. So you can kind of find your balance anywhere along in that realm. Okay, let's go back through them again. We'll do that banded vertical pull, alternating those arms, thinking about those shoulder blades reaching around your rib cage on the back. So we're going to get down into a squat, sitting those hips back, back nice and flat, shoulders away from your ears. Pull one arm at a time, engaging those abs to stay nice and level and nice and steady. Squeeze that shoulder blade down and back each time you pull, driving those elbows towards the back of the room. Keeping those abs engaged, staying nice and tight. Wherever you have your band, if this feels too hard, you can step closer. If it doesn't feel hard enough, you can step further back. Keeping those shoulders away from your ears as you start to get tired. Keeping those abs engaged. All right, good. Okay, next we're going to do those side lunges with that static external rotation hold, that isometric hold. So grab that band, just pull it apart just a little, and hold it right there. So I'll start on the other side this time. So we'll sit those hips way back, keep your eyes up, keep your chest up, facing the back of the room. Keeping those hips sitting back, knee over your ankle. If it's caving in, really think about keeping that out. Keep breathing, keep those abs engaged. Okay, now we're going to switch sides. Sit those hips back. As you come up, think about squeezing your glutes. Make those glutes work. Holding that isometric external rotation here. If your arms start to get tired, you can give them a break. Remember, if the side lunges are hurting your knees or your hips, just do some weight shifts. Step out to the side, do those weight shifts. Make it work for you. Okay, now we're gonna do that single arm push-pull. So I'm just gonna do it right up here closer this time. So I want you to push, holding it nice and tight right here. Push forward. Engaging those pecs on the front of your shoulder and your triceps with that pushing motion. It's a good shoulder stabilizer, keeping the rest of your body nice and stable. You can sit on a ball for this. You can stand. Now we're going to switch. Pushing. Keeping that shoulder in place though. I don't want you reaching forward like this. Keep your hips and your torso and your abs all nice and straight. They're going to engage since you're working one side at a time. Now this isn't a super hard exercise, but it's a good one to work the whole shoulder girdle. Now we're going to pull. So put your arms out nice and straight. Remember, you can pull with your elbow level with the floor like this, or you can pull back like this, keeping it right along your rib cage. Whatever feels good on your shoulder and your elbow. If you have any pain, you can do either one, but make sure your shoulder stays down when you're doing shoulder work. And really, people tend to want to do this for a lot of different things. It's just a natural reaction. So really focusing on not doing that. So now we'll hold it out in front, do the other side. Remember, you can keep that elbow up, or you can bring it down here to the side, whichever feels better if you have any pain with this motion. Exercises don't always have to be really hard to be effective. And this is a really effective one for working that shoulder muscle, shoulder girdle, and you may be feeling it here in your bicep as well because you're pulling, so your bicep's working, the back of your shoulder is working, and those rhomboids are working. Pulling that shoulder blade around your rib cage. Okay, great. Now we're going to hang on to that band and do some side stepping. Let's see if that camera angle will work. Yes, okay. I'm going to step on that band, bring it up here to my chest, and you can kind of figure out how it feels comfortable to us. Sometimes using a band, it's hard to grip. So if you use a towel or something, sometimes using a towel can help you hold on to it a little easier. If your hands bother you, you can kind of wrap it around the towel and hang on to the towel like this. I'll do that for this one. So we'll do some side stepping. I'm not really in a squat, but I'm a good athletic stance. You want to keep those hips back a little bit. My toes are straight forward, and I'm really engaging right here, right in those glutes. So I want them to be working hard here. I don't want, if you're standing and doing this, you're not really getting the same effect. So you got to get into that good athletic stance. And you can let that band kind of stay here between your knees, or you can let it stay out to the side, whatever is more comfortable and what, kind of how you're holding it. Mine's going to come between my knees here. So we're going to go back and forth. Make sure you get each way equally. Try to do about 10 each way. Keeping your chest tall, shoulders down, eyes forward. Okay, great. Okay, now we're going to lower down to the floor and do that bent knee, hip lift. So right down here, hands beside your hips, and cross those feet. Just gently lift those hips up off the ground. It's not a very big movement. Curling those knees towards your shoulders. Now, if you were to, lots of times there's a good back stretch where you can kind of go like this and grab your knees and roll back and forth, and that feels good on your back. And that's kind of where you're aiming to bring your knees without your hands. If you need to use your hands a couple times just to kind of get the feel of it, that's okay. If you have back pain with this, stop. Don't do these. You can do one-legged stretches. You can do those knee lifts, but this is just a little bit different. It's going to work your abs differently. Bringing those hips up off the ground. Notice I'm not taking them up very far. It's a little movement. It's not very big. Also, keeping your hands beside your hips gives you a little bit of support. Okay, great. Now the last one is those airplane holds with that isometric. No, we're not doing isometric. We're doing pulses. So we're going to do that airplane hold, standing on one foot, extending one leg back towards the back of the room, extending your arms forward. Remember, we're going to keep those shoulders down away from your ears. And little pulses, just pulling those arms apart just a little bit. That little oscillation challenges your balance, gives those shoulders a little bit more exercise. If you haven't noticed, we're focusing on your shoulders today. Trying to lift that leg up, standing, holding that balance, keeping your abs tight, holding yourself in one position. Remember, if this is too much, start here. And slowly, you can try to challenge yourself along that continuum. If you really have a hard time with this, make sure you're doing it next to something, whereas as you go forward, you can grab. If you lose your balance, you can stand next to your bed. You can stand next to a sturdy chair. All right, I'm going to come back and do my other leg. My head is just staying in line with my spine. I don't want it drooping, and I don't want it up here because that puts pressure on your neck. So keep that head in line and keep those shoulders down away from your ears. On the opposite end, if this doesn't feel very hard to you, if this feels pretty easy, try to keep going, be as level as you can here. But you can stand on a pillow, you can stand on a BOSU, you can stand on a balance disc. There's a lot of different ways to kind of even challenge that balance a little bit more. One more thing you could close your eyes. That really gets that balance when you take away one sensory and then make your others work a lot harder. So let me know if you have any questions. You can pause this and do some cardio in between sets, or you can do one set, in the morning and then do another set later in the afternoon. Make it work for you. And if you don't have a band, you can do all of these just with body weight. You can do the motions without the band. You're still getting the really mindful range of motion. Most people, though, that I do know have a band at home. So let me know if you have any questions. Take care, everybody. See you next time.